The Amish culture is all about connection and community. It really is a tourist area, and I can't believe I had never been there. Sometimes you can belong in more than one place. And they're like, cut. And we're like, what? And they're like, can you kiss like you've never kissed before? What you see in the show is what it's like there.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart Emotion podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Galadriel Stineman to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Stephanie?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be talking with you. Just finished watching the first three episodes of the Sugarcreek Amish Mysteries. Loving it so far. I had seen some of your work before, so was definitely intrigued to learn more about this new series on Up Faith and Family and on Up TV. It's a really exciting day for viewers that watch Up TV because it's the premiere of the season. And for those that follow along on Up Faith and Family, they've been able to see episode one, and today is the release of episode two. So much to talk about. So thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad it's finally coming out.
So you have this background where you've been involved in several stories that kind of tell that Amish experience and bring to life that culture. So how did you get into that type of storytelling, and what is it about these kinds of stories that really keep drawing you back?
Yeah, it's a funny typecasting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I am that girl in those Amish movies. But it's been an honor. It has been. I was thinking about it earlier. It has been almost a decade since I did my first Amish film, and that was the first one where I was fully Amish all the way through, never stopping Amish. I've had every variation on that. And I remember I was so nervous, and I got my hands on everything I could to try to, do it justice.
Yeah.
But there's not as much available for obvious reasons
Yeah.
about the Amish community. Cut to almost a decade later, and this show and doing it in the Amish community. And so, I feel like it's almost been this nice journey for me where I came in very uncomfortable and afraid of not delivering on expectations. Thinking, why did they hire? Like, what about me says Amish? I want to make sure I bring it.
Yeah.
To learning as much as I could, and then I thought that would be it. I donated my books and was just like, I'm going to have this armchair knowledge of the Amish. And then the opportunities kept coming in. And, I think the thing that connects me to it is really the same thing that draws the audiences in. And, it's partly a fascination with this way of life that is among us, but that most people don't really get an insight into. I think for many people, it feels almost like a period piece. It almost feels like you're going back in time. Um, it is, a faith. And and it is Christianity. And I think that really intrigues people, how that can be so different. But I think the biggest thing that draws people into these, and that I think people are really going to like, is you know, now more than ever, even more than when I started working in this genre 10 years. I guess it is its own genre,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Amish romances and mysteries. Um, is our world has just gotten so fast and
Yeah.
so busy, and especially post COVID, we're all so isolated and disconnected. And the Amish culture is all about connection and community and showing up for each other, and walking the walk.
Mhm.
And I think that doesn't matter whether you've ever met an Amish person or are planning a vacation to that part of the country. By watching these, I immediately want to make small changes in my own life. Maybe not give up electricity, but yeah, I think that's pretty special.
Yeah, it really does, just kind of cause you to pause for a minute and just really think about like at what rate you're moving and just settling down for a minute, settling into it. But I agree that that community part of it and just that simple life is something that I think we get so busy with everything that we're doing, and just having that moment just to kind of sit in that. But also like you say with the Amish community, I think sometimes we maybe have a misconception about, some of the things that they believe in, how they live out their lives, and to even have, even through a mystery series, it's really enjoyable to kind of learn a little bit more about them and their way of life. So,
Yeah, and more on this project than anyone I've done before. I got to live among the Amish and work among the Amish and with the Amish. I mean,
yeah.
we there were Amish people involved in the production in many different ways, and some of which are now really close friends of mine. And I've become really annoying at parties because I'm that person that I hear Amish and I'm like, must correct misinformation. But what's the coolest part is not like all TV, but what you see in the show is what it's like there, and that's what those people are like there. And so it's not just Amish for TV, but they really, I mean, even while we were there filming in that amount of time, there were countless fundraisers, and they'd invite us, they'd invite everyone, where they'd have music and everybody would bring food, whether somebody had medical bills or a loss in the family. And it's really beautiful and it's really inspiring. And while I don't see myself becoming an Amish person, I definitely was influenced a lot by a lot of the ways in which they live their lives.
They filmed in Ohio, is that correct?
Yes,
You're
in
from
Sugar
Middle
Creek.
America. I'm from Middle America. Like,
Mhm.
what was it like kind of having that experience filming in the, middle of America, that just kind of like down to earth? I mean, even the sweeping landscapes with some of the shots that I've seen in the first three
Isn't
episodes
it
are just
beautiful?
beautiful. Like, I'm just like, I want to be there. I want to
I
be
mean,
on
I
that
know, like,
farm.
I was there, but seeing it from a drone, sometimes I'm like, wow. It was really special. And it was more special and unique for my family too, because right before production started, we left Los Angeles and we went straight to Amish country. So talk about a juxtaposition. And I have two boys. And so they went from LA to spending the summer in Amish country on a TV show set. Very unique niche there.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the same area. Basically, we live near in a suburb of Cincinnati, Ohio
Yeah.
now. And so we just went from one. We just came straight down. So I sort of felt like I was going on the same journey as the character in some ways. But you know, this part of the country is the majority of the country. So I think people watch shows about New York and LA to imagine what that might be like or to try to watch it at a safe distance. But those stories that take place in the middle, well, the middle, that was a show I was on for a long time. So it's funny. But the middle being a great example actually is most of the audience. And
Mhm.
so, my one of my biggest hopes, besides my own selfish ones for this show, is that more people visit Sugarcreek and the surrounding areas because it really is a tourist area. And I can't believe I had never been there. And it's to the
Yeah.
point where Kevin and I now, like, we want to get a vacation home up there. It's wonderful. And so I think the show really spotlights the area as well as the people. So I'm just hoping this drums up the tourism for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So your character is Cheryl Cooper. Cheryl is from Chicago, so vastly different than Sugar Creek. You talk a little bit about how she ends up. I mean, we know that there was a movie a year ago. It's now turned into a series, which is exciting for us. But how does Cheryl end up in Sugar Creek?
Yeah, that's a good question. And for people who didn't see the movie, the good news is it kind of serves as a pilot for this. So whether you jump in with episode one or whether you go back and see that, it's based on the first two books, and then episode one picks up on book three for us. But Cheryl is like a lot of women, I think, in their 30s that she focused on career. She lives a busy life with friends, and I think she's getting to that time in her life when people are starting to settle down and they're all kind of leaving the waiting room, and knowing what they want. And then just the icing on the cake is she gets her heart broken. And I think originally she goes to Sugar Creek as a way to avoid her problems because um, my Aunt Mitzi goes off on a mission trip and I step in to run her store while she's gone. Because the whole, for those who are familiar with the area, they won't be surprised, but it's not like it's all Amish people, but it will be like an Amish shop in English. That's what they call us. English shop, Amish shop, you know. So my aunt is not Amish in it. And so I show up to just take things over for a little while and run from my problems. And of course, as everybody knows, you can't really run away from your problems, not physically anyway.
Yeah.
And so Cheryl starts to find a community in a way that she doesn't find in Chicago, and starts to appreciate this other way of life. And I think why this makes such a great show instead of just a movie is, you know, I've done a lot of these movies, not just the Amish ones, but the genre. And we tie it up so nicely at the end, you know, in those 2 hours. And this story is a little more complicated. And it's not, what I really like is being a person who lived in LA for a lot of their life and the Midwest. One is not bad and one is not good. They are different. And, you know, she doesn't hate Chicago when she leaves. She misses a lot about it. And still doesn't know what's right for her because she doesn't see herself being Amish, but she also can't see that life in Chicago. And I think that's what's really fun to explore through season one.
You mentioned that, the pilot is the first couple of books, and there's a book series. So this is based on a book series by Nancy Mill. Have you read those? I mean, what is that like when you, as an actor, you're portraying something that comes from a book series? I'm always
Yeah,
curious about that.
there's a different kind of pressure I think that comes with that. But I also just want to correct one thing that you might not know, and that's just that the books are written by several authors.
Oh, got
So
it. Okay,
probably they kind of rotate through because we
got it.
actually had Elizabeth Ludwig, who's one of the authors. Actually, I think she may have written more of the books than
Yes.
some of the others, but she came to set, which was really cool. And you know, I am a huge reader. I'm named for a character from Lord of the Rings. My children are named from books. My cats are named from books. Just my husband Kevin is the oddball in our family.
You're a published author.
I am also a published author. I mean, books, I think it's really stories are what I
Yeah.
love. So, you know, whether I'm reading them, watching them, making them, it's to be able to do that in all aspects of my life is just the coolest thing ever. But you know, this is the first time where I've played a character from like a series that wasn't animated previously, I should say, because I've done that, but that's a little different. It's a cartoon to a real person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know that this character is very real in a lot of people's minds. And I understand, as such an avid reader and writer, how specific and strong opinions you can get about
Oh
that.
yeah.
And
Oh
you
yeah.
know, I was just saying that the other day, never read the comments. I know better, but at some point I was reading
But we
comments.
do.
Yeah, something popped up on my algorithm because Facebook just thinks I'm obsessed with these shows now. So that sends me all the ones and it'll be like 107. And I'm like, oh, don't. But I did. And somebody was like, she is just nothing like Cheryl in the book. The only thing they got right is her hair. And I was just like, what else? Like, I wanted to be like, could you elaborate more?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have
Yeah.
the red hair.
Yeah.
What did you find?
Yeah.
That seemed to be like the most glaring things. I'm like, what did you find that wasn't the same? But, you know, the end of the day, I do my best and it's a small price to pay to be a part of something like this. So I won't complain too much.
So you mentioned Kevin,
Mhm.
who I mean, married to Kevin. I've seen several projects where the two of you are in them together. I didn't even know, oh, there's this history there. So, such a fun dynamic, even watching the two characters in this series so far, which is interesting knowing that his character, Levi, is from the Amish background. And then we have Cheryl. So, what's that dynamic like? I mean, are you able to take more risks when you work with somebody that you know so well?
Yeah, I think, you know, the positives by far outweigh the negatives when you're working with your spouse. Sometimes it can be challenging to rewind the
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
enough. I mean, we've done a lot of work together in addition to movies in the genre. We've done like commercials and episodic TV, and Yeah. I can't tell anybody what the trick is to that. It's just been great. It's come that way. I love it. But I remember the first movie that we did together. And of course, at the end, there's the kiss. And it was like not an easy scene to shoot. You know, there was a lot going on, a lot outdoors, and it's just the kiss. We're like, cut. And we're like, what? And they're like, can you kiss like you've never kissed before? And we were like, oh yeah, like we definitely kissed like we were married. So you know, it's been so amazing. Also, you know, I mentioned our kids got to come with us, and so it's a very family friendly set.
Yeah.
I've worked with them many times before with this team, but that was one of the things that drew me to them originally, is rather than trying to pretend I don't have a family, which is an actress, a lot of times you kind of feel like you have to. They were like, where are they? Bring them. Why aren't they at lunch today? And so that was really amazing. And, you know, Kevin and I talk a lot about how even though we were working insane hours on this, how it was really like the most time we've spent together as a family, because the kids hung out on set. They learned the perks of craft services and snacks. Our younger son, Sawyer, learned to hold the boom mic. Our older son, Atticus, told you we got all those literary names.
Yeah.
He learned to pull focus. He was very interested in camera. Like he's in high school now. So he's really like, you know,
Yeah.
he can actually do some things like that. Um, and so it was really lovely. And I'm sure I'd feel differently if I wasn't in a happy marriage. But it's so great, especially because we're both actors independently. And so, you know, it always is a funny thing that we have to do when we have to do love scenes with actors that we are not married to,
Yeah.
because you want to commit to it and have it be real, but you also want to be respectful. And it's just a whole tango that most people never have to think about in their
Yeah.
lives. And so to be able to work with him all summer, um, it's great. If anything, I was just like, come on, let's make something happen between them now. You know, it's quite a slow little dance they do. So
But there is movement. I mean, first three episodes we get a little bit of that. There's some movement there. There's some looks. There's an invitation. So I think we can tease that and be safe on that one.
yeah, I mean, obviously, people want to make sure there's romance
Hmm.
when they see this, and there definitely is. And you know, I think so often, well, and we do see, without giving too much away, that there are obstacles of another person that comes up as well.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
even without bringing in the normal romance obstacles, he's Amish, she's not. And he's happily Amish and she's happily not. And so, you know, that's really I think that's the thing that surprisingly a lot of people can connect to, because, you know, how much do you change for love, and should you? And, you know, again, something that gets tied up so tidily in all these movies where, you know, the next day, the next month, it would be like, so what did they do? How did they work this out? You know, we're long gone. Where in a show we really get time to, I think, see that develop and try to ride along with them if they figure out if there even is a path forward.
Yeah. There's some other interesting relationships. I mean, Sugarcreek is such a neat community, caring community. But Cheryl also has a little bit of an obstacle with the chief in town. Can you talk a little bit about that dynamic? Because it really does kind of, impact the mystery side of this series.
Yes. So Lance Nichols plays Chief Twitchell, who we just call Twitch for fun. And you know, sometimes I have to side with him because it seems like it's a pretty sleepy town until Cheryl shows up.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, is I always feel like I actually should put an asterisk when I'm like, Sugar Creek is really like that, except minus all of the crimes and things that happen once my character shows up. And
Mhm.
you know, my character's very into true crime podcasts and that whole world. And so she shows up and things start happening, and she's not too happy with how the police are handling it. So she gets right in there. But I think you know, obviously the police chief sees Cheryl as more of a thorn in his side at first, but I think everyone can see that it's going to have to change at some point. And I think what's nice about this is, and then I have my Amish partner,
Yes,
Naomi. So
Naomi.
we've got me being, as they call me in the first episode, right? The nosy millennial and serious need of a boyfriend. It's a nice little zinger
Uh-huh.
from Cassie. And then we've got the Amish one, and then we've got the police chief. But all three really can bring different things to the table. And I think at the heart of it, all three really are united in
Mhm.
wanting to make sure that the community stays intact.
Absolutely. And there's a, you see even by episode 3, there's a little bit of that bending where it's like, okay, I can see the benefit of, embracing each other and the relationship. So that's a fun dynamic to watch
Yeah,
as well.
rather than just the scowls, sometimes there's a little humor in the eyes. I'm melting him just a little.
Yeah. So we've got first 3 episodes, some really interesting mysteries. We've got things go missing in episode 1. We've got a person goes missing in episode 2. There's an interesting guest in episode 3. What's it like playing? I mean, it's a mystery series, but each episode is actually a bit different type of mystery. So what's that like?
It's a lot of fun. Also because it keeps it interesting and fresh for us, and I think for viewers too. But at first I was like, well, how many mysteries can there be where it really doesn't veer into that territory that's not a wholesome, family friendly
Yeah.
entertainment? Turns out there's quite a few. um and there's between 20 and 30 books also, so they keep going. But filming it was actually tricky because we did block shooting, which for people who don't know means that we would shoot scenes from multiple episodes at the same time when they shared a location, just to make it more efficient. So we did a block where we did 1, 2, and 3, and then we did a block where we did 4, 5, and 6, and then a block where we did 7 and 8. So there were definitely times where I'd be in the middle and I'd be like, wait, was this the stolen this? Or this was this? And I'd be like, duh, no. And they'd be like, you've read these, right? I'm like, I've read these so many times, but I can't remember because we had a coin. But then this is like, and so it's a good thing that like continuity is not my
Yeah,
job.
we
Yeah,
That's
because
script
I
supervisor, right? Is that
script
script supervisor?
supervisor.
I'm
Yeah.
learning. I'm learning.
Yes, the script supervisor. And we did have a script supervisor. We didn't get her the whole season. We could have used her the whole season. But yeah, there was just they were long days. It was a lot of material. It was sort of like just a summer camp of it and immersing yourself in it. And so you didn't really have time to plan ahead. It was like work on this, work on the next stuff, work on the next stuff, which is a great like training ground to keep the muscles oiled. But I'm going to blame that on me mixing up mysteries as we went. But so now it's really fun to watch each episode and just see it all together. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got 8 episodes this season, and I'm curious, how would you describe Cheryl's journey? Aside from the mystery side of it, how would you describe her journey over those 8 episodes?
That's a good question. Cheryl's personal journey through those 8 episodes. I think she's very much a visitor at the beginning of season 1. And you can tell that she almost needs Naomi to be her escort everywhere she goes, or asks her Aunt Mitzi, because she's truly a fish out of water. And although the area is very welcoming, she's dependent on everyone, and a lot of the things that go wrong are just because she just doesn't know the place. And what I love is by the end of season 1, you really see that people are now starting to go to her. And while she hasn't necessarily said that she is going to stay there forever or anything like that, it's clear that there's a path there,
Mhm.
and it's clear that there's room for her there. And I think that as far as her emotional journey of trying to figure out where she belongs and where she goes, there's this beautiful thing where I don't think people talk about it enough in real life either, where sometimes you can belong in more than one place. And that can be like such a privilege and also such a challenge. But it kind of coincided with the amount of time we'd been there. By the beginning, we had been there to film the pilot, right? The first two books, but that was just for a few weeks. So at the beginning, it was very much like we're doing the show. Okay, where's this? Where's this? And then by the end, I was like, I live here now. Like this is my town. And so it was kind of fun to have that parallel. Didn't have to dig as much into the acting chops for some of that when, especially with us doing a cross country move at the same time. It was, instead of Chicago to Ohio, it was LA to Ohio adjacent. But I thought to myself as we went on, I thought, well, if this is so easily resonating with me and the things I'm dealing with in my life, I think it's going to really connect with a lot of people.
Yeah. And even in the description, it's a cozy mystery. Like the
Mm-hmm.
mysteries are there. It's exciting to watch to see where they go, but it's definitely cozy. The warmth is there, the community is there, the romance is there. A lot of the good feeling stuff
Yeah,
is
you
there.
can watch it at night and not worry about getting
Yes.
nightmares. Well, and that's what I said too. I was like, people love these romances. I get it. I love it. I love them too. And they love the Amish ones. So then I'm like, making a mystery on top is just like a freebie,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And knowing that you can trust that you're gonna leave feeling good about how it ties up. And you know, there I mean, we've got a 9-year-old and a 15-year-old, and it's so hard to find things that we can all watch
It
together.
is. Mhm.
Now they never want to watch stuff that we're in. You should have seen it the other day. I was like, guys, we're gonna watch episode. Oh, no. I'm like, are you kidding me? We've also watched all of these get made, but they keep us humble, and they actually each have little cameos. So one will show up in episode 7 and one will show up in episode 8 because they were there, they were willing. So they're not actors by trade, but a proud mom moment on that.
That is fantastic. How much fun is that?
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, so because it's a book series, is there the potential for there to be more than one season?
Yes, there is a potential, and there
Okay.
is a good bit of chatter around season 2. So I won't say any more than that right now,
Okay.
but it's looking good that this won't be one of those things. We all hate that where you get invested, you want to know where it goes, and then they cancel it on you. And with an ease, perfect
Yes.
example of that. So people can feel safe in that. But if they are impatient, the Guidepost series goes far beyond season 1. And so as an actor, I kind of feel like cheating because I do know they're definitely taking some liberties
Yeah.
to make this fit the cast and the time. And so there will be some changes from the books, but I'm also like, get to peek ahead and see which of my
Yeah.
friends are coming back and some of the things that are going to happen.
Nice. Okay. So I always like to kind of end with this question. If you could describe Cheryl's journey this season in 3 words, what would they be?
Mm. Cheryl's journey in 3 words. I would say humility, hope, and family. But then I'm going to put in parentheses both chosen and born into.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Absolutely. Okay. Well, it has been so much fun talking to you,
Me
and
too.
I'm loving the series. So excited to see those next 5 episodes, crossing our fingers for another season already. I want to remind everybody that you can watch it on Up Faith and Family each week. And we're on Up TV now as well, just a week behind with the episodes. But be sure to check out Sugarcreek Amish Mysteries. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, all right, bye bye.